Welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you. It is a pleasure to have you here with us. My name is Monisha Zualtz, and on behalf of the Global Alliance for Banking on Values, I'm very excited and humbled to be able to moderate today's webinar, which will focus on transforming banking and lives in emerging countries. Today is a day that we are celebrating as part of a month-long series of events to commemorate Banking on Values Day. Banking on Values Day has been celebrated by the GABV, or Global Alliance for Banking on Values, for 15 years. And in today's webinar, we're going to be focusing on case studies and examples from 3 banks in the emerging markets. These banks are examples of a global movement of leading sustainable banks that are pioneering the most innovative approaches to creating positive impact across the financial system. They are providing products and services that do so. So if you're curious about how they do that, who their communities are, who they serve, and how they're addressing the most global issues, you are in the right place. The members of the JBV are values-based banks, and they're driving an urgent transformation towards a fairer, more resilient, greener, and inclusive economy. Some of the fields and examples that you will hear from today are from the experience over the last 15 years and often longer of how values-based banking is shaping these particular banks and the societies in which these CEOs and banks operate. And we are focusing on 6 key areas: affordable housing, clean energy, peace and social justice, biodiversity, women empowerment, and financial inclusion. So again, welcome, and we know you and hope that you will enjoy this session with us today. Let me introduce our fellow panelists. Margarita Cherikbeva, the CEO of Kompanion Bank in Kyrgyzstan.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome, Margarita.
Thank you.
Margarita is CEO of Kompanion Bank, and a short bio that she has been the CEO since 2018. Before that, she was the CEO of FINCA Bank from 2015 and their COO. She previously oversaw the business units of ProCredit Holding in the Caucasus, West Africa, and in Latin America. She has business consulting experience from these regions as well as the Middle East, and holds a master's in economics from the University of Trier, and earned her doctorate, I believe, from the Paris School of Business in 2023. So welcome, Margarita.
Thank you.
Our second panelist is Paul Thomas, a visionary social entrepreneur from India and founder of ESAF Group of Social Enterprises. This includes ESAF Small Finance Bank, where he currently serves as the managing director and CEO. In 1992, he established a nonprofit society focusing on organizing neighborhood women into self-help groups to promote socioeconomic transformation in some of India's most marginalized and backward regions. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you, Monisha.
And third with us is Mirella Pekmesi, an executive with over 25 years of experience in organizational growth, financial inclusion, and transformation. She's been leading institutions and departments to improve efficiencies through data-driven risk management approaches, combined and integrated with people empowerment and technological transformation, and is passionate about gender equality, environmental protection, social impact, and driving those processes. And Mirella is joining us from FINCA DRC in the Democratic Republic of Congo, though today she's in Paris wearing a
Hi,
sweater.
everyone.
Welcome,
Yeah.
Mirella. So let me start this panel discussion. I will ask each of you to take a turn answering a set of questions, and most broadly, to set the stage and frame for everyone here today. How has your country been transforming lives through your organization? So rather, through the lens of your organization, what transformation are you seeing in your country through the lens of banking? And so what is top of mind for you? What is the nature of the transformation in the lives that you touch, that you would like to share with us today? Margarita, could I ask you to kick us off here with this discussion?
Surely. Thank you. It's a lot of going on in Kyrgyzstan, and banking, as everywhere, plays a crucial role in economic development. Kyrgyzstan is a low middle income country and it's emerging economy, and we are facing a lot of challenges and a lot of opportunities we have at hand. And now banking, as I mentioned, plays a crucial role in helping, for example, to overcome, helping country to overcome the financial inclusion barriers through a very rapidly developing digital solutions that we apply in banking. So our bank also plays an important role there. We are like really developing new ways of how to bank and how to reach remote areas through digitalization. And due to the lack of infrastructure, banking infrastructure in Kyrgyzstan, we are facing challenges to reach out as banks, as a banking community altogether, not us as a separate bank, to the rural areas and cover and provide financial services to the local communities over there. So digitalization is an important tool right now to reach out there in cost-effective way. And here our bank, from one side, is a provider of digital solution. From the other side, we are explaining to the local communities how to use digital tools now, how to apply. So it's kind of digital literacy and financial literacy combined that we are doing through our specialized department that we have created. It's a designated department that is called Sustainable Development Department that we created at the level 8 HQ. And this department is in charge for all our development, sustainable development initiatives. As I mentioned, from one side, they provide financial and digital literacy trainings to the rural communities to help them to get onboarded and start using the financial services through the digital solutions. On the other side, they're helping, there is a team of 10 veterinarians and agronomists that provide specialized trainings to the local communities, to the local farmers. They provide trainings how to to achieve better harvesting, yielding through specialized trainings where we teach farmers how to harvest better, how to apply the new technologies, how to vaccinate, for example, animal stock, and again, achieve better results, higher productivity, and thus impact economic sustainability and empowerment of the local communities. So, yeah, what else? So, digital inclusion, specialized trainings, and financial and digital inclusion efforts. So far, we managed to reach out to 1,600 communities. 90,000 people were involved and graduated from our trainings. And yeah, we have helped to onboard almost 900,000 people to start using digital financial products. Like application, and the growth rate is really impressive, like 50% growth rate a year. Though I don't have official figures, but I think our impact on financial inclusion in the country is serious. I hope that Kyrgyzstan will manage to grow from the financial literacy, financial inclusion rate of 47 to at least 69 of world average. Maybe we have already achieved it because we are really playing active on financial inclusion through digitalization and specialized trainings.
Amazing. So you're not just a bank, you're also an educational institution, and you're invested in the success of, very clearly, of your constituents, which are rural and also agrarian as well in terms of profile. And I think that you clearly are showing a holistic approach to their success. And are accompanying them in that process. I want to kind of see if how that resonates as well with you, Paul. You know, when you look at the distribution of your communities and some of the challenges that you're seeing as well. Could you share with us how your organization is transforming lives? Thank you so much, Margarita, for kicking us off.
Thank you, Manisha, and thank you, Margarita, for sharing the your experience from Kyrgyzstan. So the ESAF started as a non-profit society in 1992, and we were addressing various social development needs of the communities. And as you know, we operate in India, and India is the most populous country in the world now. So with 1.4 billion people, and the initial years we have there are because last 20 years now we've started growing economically. Now we are one of the fifth largest economies in the world. But 20 years ago, it was not that the situation was very difficult when we started working with the community. So we have identified financial access to finance is one of the major important issue to be addressed to impact the livelihoods of the rural people. So just 10 years ago in 2014, only 25% of the women in India had a bank account, and 40% of men had bank account. But recently, one of the studies revealed that more than 78% of the men and women have bank accounts in India. So institutions like ESAF has played an important role in improving the access to finance or financial inclusion area today. So that is one major contribution for the development of our country from our side as a value-based institution. And so we became a bank, a scheduled bank in 2017 only. So we have been working as a microfinance institution, providing providing loans, providing access to credit to the low-income segments of the community. And India also has a wide divide among the rural and semi-urban areas and the urban in the banking penetration. So if you take the rural and semi-urban areas contributes almost 48% of the GDP. So, but the credit outreach is only 9%. So there is huge demand gap between the rural and semi-urban area. So that is one of our focus also. So farmers, especially small and marginal farmers, micro entrepreneurs, women, these are all neglected in the financial inclusion space or access to finance space. So we have been working in among these communities. So we are working with we are supporting almost 7 million low income women are our customers. So we have facilitated access to finance for 7 million, even 7 million women means 7 million families. So you can imagine almost into 5 means around uh, 35 million people are being reached. On our loan book, if you see around our total loan book today is 2.4 billion US dollars. It is 92% of the loan book is with the priority sector. Priority sector means agriculture, small loan to women, loan to weaker section, loan to micro enterprises. This is a classification by our central bank, Reserve Bank of India. So 92% of the loan is given to special focus sectors of priority sectors of the country. So that way, as a value-based bank, actually we are reaching out to the communities. Marginalized communities who are desperate in access to finance side aspect, and we are also and we are providing loans to these segment. And also 70% of our, we have 756 branches and 1,100 customer service centers. We operate across 25. We have 30 states out of 25 states we have presence. We have distribution centers. So 70% of the distribution centers are in rural areas, rural and semi-urban areas. So that way we are trying to bridge that gap of credit outflow to the rural centers. Around farmers are the another category. So because farmers, supporting farmers improves the food security of the country. So we have almost 200,000 smallholder farmers. We have organized into farmer interest groups and farmer producer organizations, and we, as a ESAF bank, is giving them finance. And as in our country, every profit-making company has to spend 2% of its profits for social development projects. So we call it social responsibility, CSR. So as a bank, as a value-based bank, we have decided, our shareholders have decided, have approved that we will spend 5% of the profit for social development projects. So, and projects are also women entrepreneurship development, working with children, working with village level entrepreneurs, for agri entrepreneurs, dairy entrepreneurs, energy entrepreneurs. So we are training and they provide, because as a bank we have our own limitation to provide non-financial services. So these village level entrepreneurs trained by us by our, as part our CSR projects. Our CSR partners are our ESAF Foundation and Prajodan Development Services. Two non-profit institutions are implementing these projects. So they provide non-financial services to farmers and micro entrepreneurs. So we are also, as a country, we are also joined the network for greening the finance sector, and ISAF as a growing, we are also building our green book to providing loan to rooftop solar and solar powered pump sets through the energy entrepreneurs. We are reaching out to these segments. So in financial inclusion, empowering women, empowering farmers, supporting farmers, and through that we improve, support the food production of the food security of the country, and through the green initiatives, the planet stewardship. So we have a triple bottom line mission: people, planet, prosperity. So all the three areas we are trying to make an impact in our country, and we in 2047 India is going to celebrate 100 years of independence. So as our honorable Prime Minister has announced a very ambitious plan that by 2047 India will become a developed nation. So we as a value-based bank, we are contributing to the development agenda of the government, and also we are working with the government's developmental projects. So government has, in a few years ago, government of India has introduced a pension scheme for the marginalized segments. So ESAF Bank is very actively participating, and recently Government of India has launched a campaign to promote it is called Adult Pension Yojana. So for the pension for the unorganized sector communities. So we stand first among all the banks. There are large banks, cooperative banks, private government-owned banks, private sector banks. But as a value-based bank, we stand first. We become the champion of promoting this pension for the unorganized sector. So this is a moment of celebration for all the value-based banking institutions across the world, I would say. So I think I stop here now. So maybe in the next round I can add. Malaysia.
Yeah, I think we have a problem with the host.
Yeah, I think,
yeah.
Mirella, I think you can start.
I can start in order to avoid, yeah. So I am the third in line, and it's a pleasure to be here today, representing FINCA DRC. DRC is, I think, the second largest country in Africa, and I would evaluate like the richest in the world. But unfortunately, the level of the, wealth of the population and the poverty is really, the wealth is lowest for the population and the poverty is the highest. So in this kind of situation, one organization like FINCA, which aims to reduce poverty and is distributed all over the world, as you heard before, Margarita is one of the ex-alumnus of FINCA in Kyrgyzstan, decided to come and invest in DRC 21 years ago. First, like an NGO, focused only on women, and then later transformed to a full microfinance deposit-taking institution. During these 21 years, FINCA DRC has been transforming itself with the question how we can serve better our customers, which are the poor of the poor. With the number of branches that we had, so 23 actually, in all this country, which is 2.4 million kilometers square, there was no way that you could serve them in brick and mortars. So with the help of many financial institutions, I can count IFC here, we decided to transform the way that we provided the financial inclusion and the access to banking to the customers in the DRC. And the way to do that, it was with transformation and digitalization. But how can you do that in a country where people do not trust financial institution. How can you do that in a country where people don't want to go and give the money to a small POS agent, which is actually a seller on the side of the street, in order to register in a bank where he is not a bank? It needed a lot of training, a lot of support, a lot of know-how to be distributed to the population. So FINCA DRC was the first one that created the network of POS agents. And right now we are serving more than 320,000 customers in the DRC, which are deposit givers. And we have 70,000 loan takers with an amount of portfolio $100 billion. Here we are far from India. We are not that amount of population, but it means a lot for our customers. This part of population wasn't in the past being served by the banks because the banks have very high barriers of entry, high commission. But the microfinance institution gives them a possibility to have access to finance, not only deposit, but actually loans, which they otherwise could not take because of the guarantee that the banking sector requires. In order to make this shift from going to the 23 branches, but actually going to 1,700 POS agents, as I said, it needed time, it needed work, it needed education. And right now I can proudly say that our customers are more than willing to go to the neighbor next street, which has a small shop, than to travel a lot. I mean, sometimes many hours just to reach one of the branches. It impacted also with this intervention that we did, with this education that we run on in the last 13 years, it made sure that actually our customer reduced the carbon footprint, because to take a car, all the gas used to reach one of the 23 branches, it was really big and enormous. But we didn't want to only transform the way that we serve the customer, we wanted also to transform ourselves. So we improved and changed our system so we could reduce the amount of paper. Every time when we talk about improving the world, when we put the finger to the world, we never should forget that there are four towards ourselves. So before trying to change the world, we had to try to change ourselves. And how we did in order to, drive this, we educated our own staff and how they can protect the environment. Because as Paul said, the 3P, people, planet, prosperity, is enabled in our DNA, is enabled in our blood. And to do that, you have to begin by yourself. So by training our staff how to protect the environment, by training our staff how to reduce the amount of paper used, by installing systems that could support it to that, by transforming ourselves, this is how we drove the change. So far, head of marketing that was presenting yesterday to a group of students coming with UNICEF to learn about financial inclusion in FINCA, we have planted in the last years 120,000 trees, not only ourselves, but in collaboration with different financial, different education, schools, other companies and other groups. Sorry, I'm having a bit of cough. So in order to transmit and to protect the planet, you need to actually transmit this knowledge to the new generation. So the planting of the trees is done together with the schools, is done together with association, and we are promoting it in every association that we are. We are also not only part of the Global Alliance for Banking on Values, but we're also part of Global Compact in the DRC, which is another entity that actually promotes the ESG. And it was one of the first in the DRC, and that now is trying to grow and thrive, aiming to give an opportunity and could give an access and to promote this durable directives. Our customers had an opportunity during these 21 years to grow their business, because that is our aim, to give them a hand, to give them an opportunity to get out of the poverty. And while we will celebrate now 20 years in the DRC, it was so interesting to see groups of women we have served 20 years ago to be there and promote together with us financial inclusion. It is heartwarming to see that the person that before didn't have a guarantee and couldn't take a loan and had to be in a group to take a $50 loan, right now they can take $30,000. Now they have been migrated to SME. They have been able to build a house of 3 stories. They have been able to teach their guests and have been able to send them to universities. And now they come back to proceed, to move forward with the work that our customers have been done. And transformation is not only for us. In a huge country, we do represent 37% of the microfinance sector, but the rest needs to also reach where we want. The country is big and the opportunity is enormous. It's poor, but we have to drive the change, and the change cannot be driven alone. We have to help to transform this life. So what we are doing is, by chairing also the Association of the Microfinance, we are actually guiding the rest of the microfinance to transform and to provide this opportunity to people the same way that we're transforming. FINCA DRC is the only microfinance institution which is able to access in the national switch of the country. And in order to provide the same opportunity to the other microfinances, so we can finally create an ecosystem where our customers and the rest of the population can actually digital transact and reduce the impact that they have on the environment and improve their life by having more time for themselves and their work and their family. We are pushing to raise money with the World Bank in order to provide this opportunity to have digital systems and access to switch to the rest of the microfinance sector. I think I'll stop here because if I continue, I have a lot to say, and I pass
I'll
by
take
to
the baton.
Okay,
back, Mirella. Thank you so much. We don't only have digital issues, as you could see, perhaps noticed during the webinar, in countries in the emerging markets, but also everywhere. So I was out for a bit, but didn't skip a beat here. And I was able to pick up on this point you touched on, Mirella, which I'd like to come down round for a second round of questions, because you each talked about how you're part of a bigger system. You're each part of an ecosystem. That ecosystem that you're focused on impact and transforming lives of those that are not part of the banking system. You're making active outreach. You are increasing participation, and you are measuring the success of that at every step in the process. You also mentioned that you're also working with other banks, or that your values may be an example to others in terms of how banking with values can work. So I wanted to touch on that. Paul, you talked about government policy that you are using as a tailwind to work with as you implement your policies and scale your impact. And could you talk a little bit about what other challenges you see that can be addressed with values-based banking? They may be things you're tackling, but they may be something that you see happening in the country, and you think the approach that you're taking is going to have an impact on some of those challenges. And then from there, we can also would love to hear from Mirella and from Margarita. And just if you could.
Yeah, so I'll go. So on the challenges side, I think in my earlier while answering the impact we made, I have covered about the rural-urban divide. So India is a very big country, and people, we have different languages, each the different language groups. So reaching out to the last mile, so that especially in the rural, very deep rural areas. So that has become a challenge actually. The more needy people, because the indigenous people groups, we call particularly vulnerable tribal groups. But I'm very happy to say that as a value-based bank, we have taken steps to address these areas. There are very remote locations where these indigenous people groups lives, poor, very marginalized communities lives. We have opened our branches and we are providing services. But covering all the areas, it's become a challenge. Getting people to work in these areas, it's a challenge. And since the people speak different vernacular languages, so communicating with us, so we need to, even in our signboard itself, we need to have three languages we have to write: English and the local state language and the national language Hindi. So you can imagine the mode of communication. So we have 25 states. So we need the community SMS even, a transaction confirmation message even. We need to translate to vernacular languages. All communication to be in vernacular language. So that has become a challenge. Training, identifying, and training people. So at a level for people, the employees who move from one state to another state, they find it difficult. There are cultural differences. So even though because we are a large country, so that continue to be the diversity of India become it's a challenge, but because we don't want to be known as a urban area or we as a bank we don't want to be known as only operating in comfort zones. So we select to go to difficult regions. So that becomes, I think that it may continue to be a challenge for some more time. So and so that we become, I think, in our journey, we from NGO we become transformed to a regulated microfinance, non-banking company in 2008. Then 2017 we become a scheduled commercial bank. So in all these transitions, there are a lot of changes. There are technology changes, policy changes, people. I mean, a lot of changes in all these. Each of these transitions has brought in. But one thing I can say that the original DNA of the organization, the mission of the organization, have not diluted. So the people focus, the community focus, the rural focus, that has not that was one thing. As a value-based bank, we were able to continue on that. So that this is one area. Then finding the financial education, so the people, because we are working with the low income segments of the society. So the financial literacy or financial education is very low, and the digital, especially digital literacy, is also very low. So training them on financial literacy, financial basics, finance, managing finance, and about cyber security and digital frauds. All those areas continue to be a challenge. But we are trying to address that. Then, so finding as a value-based bank, another challenge is that. So the expectation of the people, the general, the community is also on the very higher side. So managing that expectation and value-based principles and financial sustainability of the institution will continue to be a challenge, because we are the only bank from India to be member of GABV. So we don't have a local community to interact and discuss in India. That is another challenge I'm seeing. And like in Europe, we don't have that kind of capital available. So for growth capital, availability of growth capital from value-based investors or impact investors is it's another challenge. But
Paul, you have pointed out some key challenges. I just want to repeat them because they're really ones I think also
Okay.
that Dr. Cherekbeva mentioned, and I would like to link back to. So inclusion in terms of language. You were saying you've multiple language, trying to get the training of people out so that they can do the outreach. Training your own people in multiple languages is one challenge that you are leading on in terms of innovation, kind of standing alone on that. Thank you for that, pioneering that. We look forward to hearing more on that. But then also this idea of standing alone, being the only bank as part of GABV, and finding community here as you learn about digitalization and outreach. Margareta, could you share along those lines as well, because you're working and driving that particular initiative, how do you work with people remotely that are not familiar with technology, that are not online? So one thing is getting them banked, but then getting them banked online. Could you talk a little bit about that challenge in your country in terms of digitalization, and how you're maybe pioneering some of that?
Thank you. I fully agree with Paul. It's very costly in the area. Digitalization and value-based banking, it means a lot of costs combined. And what we do in Kyrgyzstan, as I mentioned in the previous part of my speech, there is a lack of banking infrastructure in the country, especially in the rural areas. So to be able to provide effective digital banking, we need to provide to the customers so-called cash in, cash out points, because they need to put the cash in their mobile application, and whenever they need it, they need to take cash out. But the banking infrastructure is short in the country. So ATMs, terminals, cash in, cash out terminals are short, especially in the regions. So digital banking is not possible without this specialized infrastructure. And to cover for such a shortcoming, we as a bank have developed so-called agent banking. We are the only bank in the country that have 3,300 agents across the country. In every remote village of the country, we have an agent that serves as a kind of human ATM. So clients of the bank can come to the agent and cash in like real cash, and receive on their mobile application an electronic money, or vice versa. They can bring electronic money and encash them in real cash through the agent. And agents are normally small shops in the village. So it's a well-known points for the villagers where they buy stuff for themselves, and at the same time they can do some these two simple transactions with agents. And now we see that ever-growing number of transactions of the bank, ever-growing number of clients of the bank are handled through the agent network of the bank. It's interesting to observe how it's evolving, and more transactions are now being carried out through that remote channels that we have developed. And it's like a chain of network of agents. They're independent from us. They are not our employees. They are not our we do not see them as a structural unit of the bank, but they're our partners. So we are partnering in providing financial services in the remote areas, more or less in a cost-effective way, because we wouldn't have been able to buy that many ATMs and sustain them in the remote areas, because it is, again, additional cost to buy, to amortize, to maintain, to serve ATM network, especially if it is far away from the branches. But the agents, they do all this work for ourselves. At the beginning, we had to subsidize such a project. We had to pay to the agents to become our agents. We had to train them, and it's a lot of trainings that we have to provide to them because they are providing financial services. We have to train our agents how to do it. We have to carry out specialized trainings that are required by our regulator, ATM, CFT, IML, CFT trainings, and these are all the costs of the bank. But at the same time, we also incentivized them initially to become our agent, kind of salary we pay to the agents. But now, the more they're gaining the experience and see how to develop this business, they're becoming more self-sufficient. They're charging fees on the customers and receiving less and less support from the bank. We were kind of, concerned that with time, the agents will become like too expensive for the customers. They'll start charging high amounts of commissions, and we even concluded agreements with them that they are not allowed to charge above certain threshold. But what we observe is an interesting picture. The agents do not overcharge to the customers. Why? Because it's their neighbors. It's the people they know. It's their villagers. So it's like village support work. Sometimes we even tell our agents, like, you have to charge for the transaction. You have to earn a bit to stay as an agent, to stay interested. But we often observe that they do not charge because they say it's my relative, it's my neighbor, it's my friend, it's a family I know. They do not have much money, so it's very interesting how things are developing. But again, to start this project, it was a cost like charged endeavor for us. But we went through this and we decided that there is no way, we couldn't see another way to cover for the lack of infrastructure. And now we see the outcomes and they are very positive. So to summarize here my answer, yes, digitalization and value-based banking is related with high costs, but then it is possible to find a way to offset the costs and do responsible banking.
Thank you so much for sharing that add-on on how do you scale and advance your innovation in a cost-effective way, and what are you learning in that process? Mirela, as we close with you before the Q&A, I'll invite everyone now to think of a few questions. We will have some time at the end to take your questions and ask of the panelists. So if you want, you can address them to a certain person in the chat or in general. But is this a challenge that resonates with you as well, Mirela, in terms of, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned also that in order to provide an opportunity to access financial services, we had to transform ourselves also. So the challenges that you can address in the DRC are more. In the DRC, there is no identity card. The people that you will serve, they will present different type of documents. In order to resolve this, we have actually registered all our customers with a fingerprint. And the transformation, the access to the network of agents like Margarita presented a little, it's the same in the DRC, the 1,700 agents, where the customer go there. They go and they don't need a document. They just need to put their finger in the app and then do cash in, cash out, or actually pay the bills. It is a real challenge because it is not easy. The service is not all over the DRC. In order to provide these apps, yes, you need just 2G, but it is not a technology that doesn't become obsolete. So all the network of agents that we have created 13 years ago, actually now this technology is obsolete. So you need to reinvest in all and change and transform all this process in order to have the new devices. Ingenico, which used to be the provider, is not stopped producing them anymore. While these devices at time, like the Benz machines, they could, cars, they could stay for 20, 30 years, and this one stayed for 10 years. Right now, you have to transform and you have to go to Android, which means a lot of money investment, and not always the system can match each other. But to go back, the challenges that we see in DRC is not only from the digital perspective, as I said, while FINCA has installed itself in the switch, in the digital network, not many other institutions have. So you need to collaborate and to change the regulations to allow this institution to participate in creating the ecosystem, the digital ecosystem where the customer can access. And this has to be done by changing laws and by helping them have actually a robust system that can protect them through attacks, and as well as educate their staff as well as their customers on the new way to reach and to have this access. We shouldn't forget that in the country, I wanted to also point out that one difficulty that we have as a World Bank, is to actually provide access to women. In the beginning, we were only women-oriented business, and then we, added men, and then men took over. So right now, the part of our customers is loan takers 40% women and 60 men. So why did it happen? It happened because in the DRC till 7 years ago, the women didn't have much power. Even the law till 7 years ago foreseeing that the woman, in order to begin to work, it has to have the permission of the husband. The woman is the marginated part of the population. They do not have so much guarantees. They don't have, many of them, possibilities. So a challenge that we are trying to address is actually how to give more access to women and how to promote this on the network. And what we are doing we have been years that have created products only for women. We are promoting access to finance. We are giving education. Education is the key in everything. Whatever elements you will invest in your institution, whatever nice things you want to do for the population, if you don't show them, communicate to them, as well as educate them how to use it in a proper way, you will not reach what you would like to. And how we are doing it is we are doing it by videos, we are doing it by going to the community, we are talking with the women, and we are presenting there the possibility. We are educating them, not only for them to become our customers, but for their own knowledge. If they become or not our customer, for us, it's not an obligation, but the impact training given to them, it is one of the most important things. And to do that, we're not doing it alone. We're doing it in the groups that we are part of in the country, and we are doing it as part of the Association of the Microfinance Sector. And we are also raising money in order to have the other microfinances do the same thing as us. So I know we are short in time, so I would like to cut it here to give opportunity to the rest for the questions.
It is you guys make it very difficult to interject, I have to say, when you're sharing your learnings and your stories, because they are so hard won and hard earned and full of, experience that we all want to know more about and delve into in greater detail. And I hope we will be able to do so in the future. A few questions did come in, so I will turn to those with your permission. Margarita, there was a question specifically for you from First Microfinance Bank in Afghanistan, also a GABV member, about if you had some rule of thumb kind of estimates you could provide around the cost or the investment you made to build that network of agents that you referred to earlier, and also to train your staff. Is there any kind of estimates you could provide that other banks could take, use as a benchmark? Is there thinking about similar approaches in terms of the network approach?
Well, I would say the total cost for the initial 2 years was about $250,000. Because we had to pay to the employees that went out searching for agents, explaining what it means. training the agents that were interested. Most of these agents are our clients, so it was not difficult for us to find them. But it took us time, efforts, and thinking in developing the, for example, liquidity system that supports agents, because we have to manage liquidity turning in this agent network. So we had to come up with the idea how to provide, for example, overdrafts to the agents that needed like special financial support. Some of them are working with their own funds, some of them are working with our funds. So we had to develop that system. Then we had to develop the application for the agents. So application we developed in-house. It took us half a year. So the total amount of the application, the salaries of the developers, testers, etc., etc. So altogether, 250,000, more or less the cost of launching this network. Plus, of course, there are administrative costs, like we have managers in the level of the branches who oversee the work of the agents, that keep up agents, promoting, helping them to stay active, engaged in the business. We also receive complaints, requests, a lot of pretension work that we carry out for them. So it's a specialized couple of people at the level of head office that are in charge of that marketing costs. So it is not cheap, but the function that network has is important for the total digitalization of the bank, like helping us to have that many clients with mobile applications. So these costs is offset by the revenue that we are generating through the clients that are using our mobile applications. Sorry for a long answer. It's 250,000, the launch. I can provide you more information if you are interested. We can do it offline. We can discuss it.
Great. So that's an offer to follow up directly then with Margarita on that. Thank you. And the same to both of you, actually, Mirella and Paul, when it comes to financing your efforts with outreach and education, right? If that's a cost item for you, is that something that you budget for? How do you budget for that and earmark your investment in the educational component to enable the services that you're providing? So the education to your within your employees is something that you might be thinking about. Maybe it's the direct education to your constituencies and your clients. Is that something that you're budgeting for yourself, or able to get financing from other sources like the World Bank or other places for that?
Yeah. For us in the DRC, in order to provide that, we have budgeted ourselves. But in the past, we have had the support. Actually, it was a collaboration between FINCA Canada and Canadian government that supported us with a grant, so we can penetrate more also in the remote areas. I have to add that in DRC, in order to do this type of training, you have to mostly be in person. Even though we have developed digital videos and they are online, they're published online and they have more than millions of views, in reality, you cannot measure if it is understood or not. So in order to budget it, there is around $121,000, I think, every single year, which is put it on the budget. And this is just for the outside training, but as well as we have budget forecasted for training for every single department. And this is included in the budget process where every department evaluates the needs. And but not only that, there are also investments that we do. We have a platform of education where our own staff can have access. And there's at least one training per month, which is done in order to, promote And this is not only education, this is digitalization, this is environment protection. It is costly. And if I go back to the network of agents, in the beginning, one device of the POS was costed $1,700. And with time, the price reduced because it's a fingerprint device. It is more advanced than the other one that swiped the card. So the investment at the time, 2013, was huge. And then the price of the device is reduced with time, and they reached $700 per device here and 5 years ago. And now that we have to redo all the network because these devices become obsolete, even though they can be used, but there is no anymore part. So you have to transform the cost of one new device, it's around $440. And in order to transform the system in itself, you have to invest at least $150,000 in order to adapt on the new one. So the investment in digitalization and transformation and giving access, so making us ready to give access to the customer is huge. So to a bit migrate to it, we also created opportunities for our customers to have access on the phone, which doesn't mean only a digital phone, but the feature phone. So we have integrated with the MNO, so they can have access on their account just by doing a shortcode. So with a feature phone, so they can have exactly the same access. So from 1,700 POS agent, you transform yourself to 320,000 customers, which with their phone can have access wherever they are, and they can transform, they can withdraw, they can push and pull with MNO, so you can leverage your integration with mobile providers in the company, so you can use their network of agents, which are more than 50,000 agents, so they can actually do cash in, cash out, make payment. So I think the future is the possibilities are enormous only if we actually collaborate and we create that ecosystem in a country to provide access to finance and education. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mirella. We are at the bottom on top of the hour. So if Paul, you have a last comment on this, we'd love to take it. And then I can happily share the remaining questions, which actually are on building ecosystems and partnerships with other banks, with all of you afterwards. And we'll see how we can get your responses out to the network. And so this would be the closing remark from you, Paul, before we bid everyone adieu and to the rest of their day.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you once again. On that question on investment on training, actually the internal staff training is a major investment. We have a separate exclusive department, learning and development department, to train our staff. There are different levels of training. Continuous training is happening. I don't have the exact amount of the expenditure we are incurring every year. So that is happening. That is the business can take for that. But the other major requirement is to equip train the customers on financial education and other livelihood and improving their business activities. There also we do part of it. And we are also trying to some of the developmental institutions supported by the government is providing some support to conduct these financial literacy training for women and also supporting training the agents. We are also having direct agents of around 5,000. So that's how we are managing. And on that last question, I saw a question. I just wanted to make a comment on that also. So we are not a microfinance institution. So the question is whether the microfinance institutions partnering with banks. So we were a microfinance institution earlier till 2017. And that point we had partnerships with banks. But once we become a bank, we started partnering with the microfinance institutions on the other side. So we have 35. We call it in the Reserve Bank regulatory parlance, it is called business correspondent. So, but it is partners. So we have 35 institutions, smaller institutions, microfinance institutions, farmer producer institutions like that. So we partner with them, and they have appointed around 10,000 agents. All the 35 institutions together have 10,000 plus agents providing these services. They are full-time agents working with the institution. So that is very prevalent in India. There are regulatory guidelines for that. So we are working, and that is a good model. Both MFI microfinance institutions can partner with banks. Banks can partner with to make the much more impact. The banks can also partner with microfinance institutions. So my final comment on this discussion is that yes, value-based banks are making real transformational impacts in the countries where they operate, whether it is Congo or Kyrgyzstan or India. These three examples are it's a testimony of the truth that if the institution have a strong conviction and purpose, so purpose-driven organizations, value-driven organizations, value-driven banks can make transformations in the communities where they serve. So I stop here. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you, GABB, for Sonia and team for organizing this panel discussion. Thank you, Monisha, for moderating us. Thank you, Margarita and Mirela. It is a joy to be on the panel with you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much
Thank you,
for
Paul.
joining us.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
It was
you,
a pleasure.
Paul.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Mirella, for your insights. Thank you, Paul, for your insights and knowledge, and Margarita for your experiences and kicking us off with the agent network. I think you're going to be getting a lot of questions about that going
Ready to
forward.
answer them.
Yes, wonderful. See you all again very soon at our next gathering. And to all of you who are out there, we do have some other resources in the chat that people are adding in, other links and other resources on this topic that may be of interest. So please take a look at the webinar chat to see if there's something there that you can take away from this. And I wish you all a wonderful day ahead, wherever in the world you may be.
Thank you.
Thank
Wonderful
you.
day. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. 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 Bye.
Bye.